Hey guys, this is Ethan and I'm here with Darren from the Sports Bench, and we're here bringing you our very first video on YouTube here. We're going to be talking about the Kyrie Irving trade scenarios. I know that I don't know why, I've been fascinated by this whole Kyrie Irving thing and all the phenomenal destinations he could go to and all the trade packages he could be bringing into the Cavs. And Darren, what do you think about this whole Kyrie Irving situation?
First, I just want to say hi, Darren here, and I wanted to get out any preconceived notions that I'm a Kyrie Irving fan. Um, Me and Ethan both feel that Kyrie Irving doesn't exactly bring value on both sides of the court to a trade, but we're going to try to drop some of those problems we have with Kyrie Irving and just talk about the value that a team could get for him and what the Cavs could get in return.
Yeah, you'll find that out pretty quickly. I mean, Darren and I both have a strong preference for players who play on both ends of the court. Obviously, Kyrie Irving doesn't fill that need. He also, as a point guard, he also lacks in the ball distribution portion of the game. And obviously, he's a top 10 scorer, phenomenally gifted at scoring. He's great in the playoffs. He's got great attributes about him, but he also has great deficiencies. So it's hard for me to consider him this phenomenal trade asset. But regardless of my feelings, the NBA does view him as a phenomenal trade asset, and he's going to bring in a very large haul. So what we're going to attempt to do here is bring up a trade scenario for every team in the NBA to trade for Kyrie Irving.
Before you depart from that, though, also we take in high consideration being a good teammate, and we're not always sure that high volume scorers are always good teammates, looking out for themselves first and stuff. So that's one of the other factors that has him a little low on our list in terms of the value that a lot of people see him at. But that's just our opinion. So
yeah, I mean, it's an excellent point. We both feel the same way about high volume shot takers, high volume scorers. Now, granted, he is efficient. Last year, he had a very efficient scoring season, but he's still an extremely high volume scorer. And when somebody shoots that many times in a game, it obviously reduces the amount of touches and shots that other people get. And he does at times tend to stop ball movement and the flow of the offense to play a lot of heavy ISO plays. So that to me is a bit of a detractor too. But
his ISO game is pretty amazing.
it's phenomenal. I mean, it's one of the best in the NBA.
He has some handles.
So that is kind of our caveat to that, is that we don't personally have the highest ranking of Kyrie Irving. I already knew, but I wasn't surprised that the Cavs were so bad when Kyrie was on the court and LeBron wasn't, right? Like, that wasn't a surprise to me. That is exactly what I knew and was expecting. The stats showed what I had already been able to tell, that Kyrie alone is just not enough. As a sidekick guy, he's great. Personally, I think he's making a huge mistake. I think wherever he goes, he is going to definitely suffer from this trade. Going away from LeBron doesn't make any sense. But hey, this is what Kyrie wants to do. This is the deliciously entertaining position he's put us all into. I personally think that with the right trade packages, the Cavs could actually come out on top and be a better team without Kyrie Irving. I think that, we'll see some of the trade packages we're talking about that I think will come out. Some of them won't be better. Some of them will be. So we'll have to take a look at them and go from there. So we're going to be doing every team in the NBA, if humanly possible, a trade package for Kyrie Irving, and we're going to do it conference by conference. And we're starting today with the Atlantic Conference in the Atlantic Division in the Eastern Conference. So we're going to do division by division, and this one starts off with the Celtics. And I know the Celtics are a big time rumored because they have a lot of stuff they can give up for Kyrie, and they're very unlikely because the Cavs are probably not going to want to trade with the Celtics to give them Kyrie. It makes them a much better team and a harder team to contend with. I will argue, however, that if the Cavs feel like they can trade Kyrie to the Celtics and get the better end of the deal for next year when they're sure LeBron's going to be there, and pick up some young talent, why wouldn't they do that?
Yeah, one of the pieces, though, they do need to move in order for this to make sense would be Isaiah Thomas.
Yes, Isaiah Thomas is kind of a must because they're going to replace that point guard, and Marcus Smart's not quite enough to have as a starting point guard for that team. He doesn't shoot well enough, even though he plays phenomenal defense, just not quite where we want to be.
He's pretty versatile, but I do feel like that they would be lacking if they got rid of Isaiah Thomas and didn't have Kyrie as a replacement.
Right. And okay, so the trade scenario that we've put up here is Kyrie Irving to the Celtics for Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder, and Gershon Yabusele, who is a first-round pick from last year. He's coming over to the NBA this year, and he's actually a pretty well thought of, young player. So as you see in the picture we're showing right now of the trade machine, it says Terry Rozier. That is the closest dollar amount that we could get. We could not select Yabusele because he is not tradable until August 18th because he just got signed to his rookie contract. But obviously August 18th is only a few weeks away. It's no big deal. If the Cavs have to wait to get something like this, they will. Also included in this pick is going to be a first-round pick from the Nets. We're talking about what will very likely be the number 1 overall or a top 3 pick next year. So what they get out of this move is a high-volume, high-efficiency scorer, just like Kyrie Irving, who's just as bad at defense and probably just as bad at ball distribution, being a point guard. But he does fill that void pretty well, probably to the same quality of level of Kyrie or close. He's got clutch gene. He's able to make some clutch shots. He's able to score at will. So I think at the very least they get really close. What they also get is Jay Crowder, who has quickly become one of the most efficient scoring defensive players in the NBA. Because at the end of the day, Jay Crowder is a defender.
He's got hustle.
Right. He's straight defender. He's big-time hustle guy. Last year, he put up some good numbers, 14 points, 6 rebounds, and he obviously, to go along with his defensive stats, he doesn't turn the ball over very much, but he shot 46% from the field and 40% from 3, which is pretty good for a guy who has that playing style. So Jay Crowder, in my opinion, goes in the starting lineup immediately and is a big improvement over whoever he really replaces, which could be...
Their front court got stronger, too, with the acquisition of Gordon Hayward, too, so...
Right.
They other players become expendable when that happens.
Oh, Jay Crowder is super expendable. I mean, you're talking about Gordon Hayward's been signed, and now they've got Jaylen Brown, last year's, number 3 pick, and they have this year's number 3 pick in Jason Tatum at the same position. So they have Jay Crowder's expendable. So why do the Boston Celtics do this trade? Jay Crowder's expendable because of the reasons we just stated. Isaiah Thomas only has 1 year left on his contract and is gonna want a max deal. Obviously, they got to give up a couple young players to get 2 years of control of Kyrie, and then Kyrie has a 3rd year option too to stay if he'd like to. But that makes the Celtics a better team. Not really necessarily a better team off the bat, but what it does do is it makes them a younger team with a brighter future. I think Kyrie's younger than Isaiah Thomas and has a brighter future than he does. And then the Cavs get in return, the young Gershon Yabusele from last year's first-round pick, and they get probably a top 3, top 5 pick for next year from the Nets.
And Boston played way, way, way above their potential, I think, last year, having the best record in the East. And a lot of that was due to the play of Isaiah Thomas. So for the Cavs to get a player like that who can elevate a bunch of other players on a team that may not have played as well as it actually did. I mean, Al Horford's there. You got some big names on this team, but it is a team full of up-and-comers. So they had a lot more going for them because of Isaiah Thomas.
Let me point out, too, that Isaiah Thomas, for all intents and purposes, as far as we can see, is, I think, regarded as a much better teammate, has a much better attitude. He played through the death of his sister in last year's playoffs, which is phenomenal. That had to have been a really tough situation. I mean, from everything that I can tell from the outside, Thomas looks like a pretty upstanding dude, and that's the kind of guy that I think LeBron will enjoy playing with. And he's not a bad defender because of lack of effort, which is what you could say about Kyrie Irving, because Kyrie has all the athletic and physical tools to be a good defender, and mental tools for that matter. He just doesn't give the effort in. Isaiah Thomas is just not a great defender because he's tiny. So there's a bit of a difference there. Now, I think that Ty Lue and LeBron could do a good job of hiding, the defensive deficiencies of somebody like Isaiah Thomas better than
dropping off. Oh, there you are.
Better than the Celtics could. But I think overall this trade makes the Cavs better next year, and it gives the Celtics a bright future. And I think likely this trade doesn't happen, but I think it's the best scenario for the Cavs and the Celtics for a trade between the two of them. And then next we have on the list the Nets. And the Nets was a really difficult team to make a real legitimate trade proposal for, but I gave it my best shot. And what we've done here is we've given Kyrie Irving for Jeremy Lin, who I think would be a quality starting point guard for this year. He is a above average scorer. He is a above average ball distributor, and he's an above average defender. I mean, he's nothing to laugh about. Jeremy Lin is a quality player who does a lot of things really well. Very unselfish.
High basketball IQ too.
I mean, dude's from Stanford. High IQ, period. But high basketball IQ, big time hustle. Very well liked by all his teammates and coaches, for that matter, except for Kobe for some reason, who hated him. Next, we have Caris LeVert, who is a very highly touted young player. I'm not a huge fan of his, but he seems to be having a lot of trade value. So we threw him in there because the Cavs will definitely need a lot more than that. And then we have Hollis Jefferson at shooting guard also, who was the first-round pick of the Nets 2 years ago. So their last two first-round picks, Jeremy Lin, and then two more first-round picks. We have the 18 Raptors first-round pick, which they own, and then they have the 19 first-round pick of the Nets. Obviously, the freaking Brooklyn Nets do this for obvious reasons. They get to pair D'Angelo Russell and Kyrie Irving in the same backcourt, which would be pretty potent offensively. I mean, they wouldn't play a lick of defense to save their life, but they'd be potent offensively. And then the Cavs do it because they get some young pieces, 2 first-round picks. They get 2 young players on the up-and-coming. And Jeremy Lin, I think, is actually a pretty decent replacement for Kyrie. Obviously, he's going to not be good at scoring the basketball, but he'll help facilitate the rest of the offense much better. He'll play much better defense, and he could still drop in. I think Jeremy drops in a cool 17, 18 points a game next to LeBron James. What do you think?
Well, here's another thing about Jeremy Lin is he was able to elevate himself to superstar status in the course of about 2 weeks in New York. But LeBron James makes everybody he plays with better. And to make a player like Jeremy Lin better is only a good thing. There can only be success that comes from Jeremy Lin doing the right things on the court, being in the right spot, taking the right shots. So, yeah, LeBron makes this trade smart.
I think that, yeah, for sure. LeBron and Jeremy, I think, will play great together. And I think that what this does also is you take a little star power away from Kyrie Irving to Jeremy Lin, and what it does is it creates a lot more opportunities for Kevin Love to spread his wings. And I know that Kevin Love gets a bad rap every now and then for stuff like that, but we got to remember 2 things. Number one, before Kevin Love got to the Cavs, he was a superstar. 25 points a game, 15 rebounds, 100%, one of the best big men in the NBA.
Speaking of Love, though, you have a lot of love for Love.
I think he's a great player, and so like if we define the job of a big man in the NBA, scoring, rebounding, and defending is pretty much the top 3 things. He is elite at scoring and rebounding in the NBA. He and throughout the 2 years he's played with LeBron, he has elevated his game as a defender pretty substantially. He's gone from a piss poor defender in the NBA to about average, which is, I mean, that's a good improvement. And who knows, maybe next year he can be above average because Love's a smart guy with a very strong core body. Like, he may not be fast and crazy athletic and be able to jump high, but he's got a very strong core and a very high IQ. But I think that this trade actually creates more opportunities for Love to shine. And I think that the reality is that when Kyrie was out with an injury or on the bench for whatever reason, and LeBron and Kevin Love played together without Kyrie, they actually were like 29-7. They actually played phenomenally without Kyrie Irving on the court, and Love's numbers skyrocketed. Love's numbers without Kyrie on the court, he was averaging like 27 and 14.
Big difference there too. Love is a good teammate. Love passes the ball super willingly. He's got all the facets to his game.
Yeah, Love is actually a super underrated passer. I think in his last year in Cleveland, when he had the ball in his hands a lot more, he averaged like 4 assists a game, which for a power forward, as we know, is really, really decent.
And I mean that outlet pass too. He could
Oh,
start
the
for a
outlet
lot
pass.
of teams in the NFL.
So good. The outlet pass is such a good thing. I saw a video on the outlet pass and how effective it actually is, and it's like that play that he does, and he can do it like once or twice a game, is literally like the most effective play in the NBA. Like points per possession, that thing ends up being worth 2 points almost every single time he does it. So it's pretty crazy, but that trade is, I think it's an underrated trade. The Nets, it seems silly, but the 2 first-round picks is great for the future. Jeremy Lin, I think, makes them obviously not a better team, but the addition of LeVert and Hollis in the first-round picks, maybe that gives you the power you need to trade for a high-quality starting shooting guard. I mean, that gives you some stuff. You know what I'm saying? That gives you some ability to trade some more.
What I feel about this trade is there's more value in it for the Nets. I think a player like Kyrie makes the Nets better. And I think this is one of the teams that Kyrie succeeds on. Market, good front office. They go get players when they need them. They make decisions. They're good in the draft. So I like the trade better for the Nets in this one.
I would agree, unless the Cavs are able to parlay the first-round pick of the Raptors next year and maybe LeVert into a above-average shooting guard, and they can replace J.R. Smith in the starting lineup with a talented two-way guard in the mold of like Avery Bradley or somebody who plays, or like Danny Green, a good scorer/defender. Because then you're talking about upgrading defensively at point guard and shooting guard, and upgrading, if you can upgrade the scoring at shooting guard enough to make the difference up between Lin and Kyrie Irving, then you've made yourself a much better team.
Yeah.
So it just depends on how you parlay that. But next up, we have...
parlay.
Yeah, parlay, kind of like the pirate thing.
Thing.
So next we have the Knicks first trade. We got 2 trades for the Knicks. One's going to be a 1-to-1 trade, and one's going to be a 3-team trade. Trade 1 for the Knicks is Kyrie Irving, followed by Shumpert, and that's it. That's all we have for that one. And that is being traded. So Kyrie Irving, Iman Shumpert for Carmelo Anthony, Hernan Gomez, who's a pretty talented young center in the NBA. He's actually pretty highly coveted. And it says on your screen Kuzminskas, but that is not correct. It actually is going to be Frank Ntilikina, which is the first-round point guard they drafted in this year's draft. And thank you. That's a really hard name to pronounce. And then, of course, they're a first-round pick next year. So I hate to be a downer, but I feel like the first-round pick for the Knicks next year after this trade is still a pretty high pick. I don't really think that Kyrie Irving and Porzingis with pretty much nothing else can really do much of anything. They have Tim Hardaway Jr., I guess, but it's still a pretty weak team. They would be hard pressed for me to really make a push for the playoffs. But
well, what do you think about putting Carmelo Anthony and Kyrie together?
Carmelo and Kyrie? Well, Carmelo's going in the trade, so he would be with LeBron.
Oh, okay, yeah, missed that. Okay, yeah, that makes sense then.
Yeah, Carmelo's the first trade piece. So then it puts LeBron and Carmelo in there.
That just spells disaster.
Oh yeah, that'd be awful. I can't even fathom a team with LeBron, Carmelo, and Kyrie like they were trying to do. That seems horrible. I don't even know if LeBron would ever touch the ball.
I don't know who would touch the ball in that scenario. Like, they probably just have tip drills.
It's a lot of dudes fighting for balls. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But this trade, I think obviously the Knicks get a young point guard to pair with Porzingis. That's kind of enough said there. Shumpert's a nice 3-and-D option that they get to pair coming off the bench. They have Tim Hardaway Jr. to start there. And then the Cavs obviously get Hernan Gomez, a really solid backup big. They get they get the young guy Ntilikina. Dang, that's a hard name to pronounce. And then they get so he could potentially start a point guard, or he comes off the bench behind Rose. And they get the first round pick next year. I mean, this is not my favorite trade at all.
You're going to notice, though, that Ethan has Shumpert and J.R. Smith in a lot of these trade scenarios is just like that extra cap balance to make the trade work.
Yeah, Shumpert's cap balance slash a fairly wanted guy. He's a commodity. I mean, he's not worthless. People want Shumpert.
Well,
he has value.
J.R. Smith.
J.R. Smith is worth nothing. That's if J.R. Smith is in the trade, what that means is, you didn't give us enough stuff, so you're additionally going to have to take J.R. Smith's awful contract onto your books. So that is trade number 1 for the Knicks. And trade number 2 is a 3-team trade between the Knicks, the Phoenix Suns, and the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I'm sure you guys saw a little bit about this one. There's been some rumors on there, and I think I found a way to get all the teams happy. So what I have coming to Cleveland is Carmelo Anthony and Eric Bledsoe and TJ Warren. What I got going to the Knicks is Kyrie Irving and Iman Shumpert again. And what I have going to the Suns is Channing Frye and Ntilikina, and the Suns would also receive 2 first-round draft picks, one from the Cavs and one from the Knicks. So what they get for giving up Bledsoe and TJ Warren is 2 first-round picks, the first-round point guard from the Knicks, which they reported to actually be interested in, and then the expiring contract of Channing Frye. The Knicks get the 2 guys they want. So this seems like a trade that doesn't work out as well for the Knicks, but the Suns get a haul, 2 first-round picks, the first-round point guard this year. That's a good and an expiring contract.
Trades don't always work out for every team involved. Sure. Like sometimes you get value in the picks you get. Sometimes you just get rid of a piece you just don't need anymore.
True.
Before, like Carmelo could be in that category.
And same with Bledsoe. They're reported to be wanting to move on from Bledsoe because he's getting old and they have a very young team. So they get actually a rookie point guard who for all we know, could be a superstar. So and they were reportedly really interested in before the draft, and they're still interested in him. The Knicks, believe it or not, with this trade, give up less. They give up Carmelo and Ntilikina, but they actually get to keep Hernan Gomez, who they're said to be really high on, who they plan on starting at center next year. And the Cavs give up a first-round pick additionally, but they get freaking Eric Bledsoe and TJ Warren. And let me tell you guys a little bit about TJ Warren. TJ Warren is a young, quality small forward who potentially could play the 2. It would be kind of rough for him, I think, because he's a little bit slower. But he has no three-point shot whatsoever. But he's a above-average defender, and he can score. I mean, he had a concussion issue last year, but he had his first 11 games this season, then concussion, and then he came back healthy for the first time all year after the trade deadline. And if you kind of combine those, he averaged about 18 points a game on 53% shooting from the field with 6 or 7 rebounds to boot. So he's actually a pretty quality player. I think this to me is the best possible scenario trade in this division. I think this is just a phenomenal trade.
You said later on after we've visited all the divisions, you wanted to do some crazy 3 trade.
I'm gonna do
possibilities.
Right. The only reason this isn't in the crazy 3 trade possibilities section is because I think this is actually probably the most realistic 3-way trade possible.
And nothing involving Carmelo Anthony to the Cavs is a stretch because everyone knows that those 2 want to play together.
Carmelo obviously wants to go to the Rockets, but here's the reality to everyone who's hoping
but he wants
that
to play. Well, more what you hear is LeBron wants to play with Carmelo, but
Carmelo wants to play with LeBron too. But Carmelo would prefer playing with the Rockets because he gets to play with 2 ball distributors and he gets to be the ball dominant guy again, right? But at the end of the day, the reality is the Rockets just don't have a way to possibly give the Knicks something in value, which adds up to $26 freaking million. They just don't. The
problem is the Rockets, though, is Harden should be ball dominant on any team.
Should be because he's that good. Yes. Yeah. If I were the Rockets, I wouldn't trade for Carmelo. I don't think it makes them better.
Just leave Carmelo in New York and move everybody else off the team, and it'd be good.
Yeah, exactly. So I think this is a great trade for the Cavs, and the Knicks and Suns get what they want, which is, the Suns get to continue their youth movement, and with 2 first-round picks and the rookie point guard, they get Channing Frye as a expiring contract, and then the Knicks get the Kyrie Irving guy that they really, really want to pair with Porzingis. So I love this trade. I think it's actually a really good one. And the last one on our list today is the trade from the 76ers to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, I know if you're a 76ers fan, don't panic. Ben Simmons is not included in this trade. The only reason that is the way it is
that's a good thing.
Is because I couldn't include Markelle Fultz in this trade because Markelle Fultz can't be traded until August 7th. However,
But I bet you the 76ers fans are pretty high on Markelle Fultz as well.
they probably are. Most of you guys probably would rather not trade Markelle Fultz for Kyrie Irving, but this nonetheless is a possibility.
It's though, before you go on with that, it's not like Kyrie is old and long in the tooth here. He's got a lot of
He's 25 years old.
tread on his tires still. He's 25. I know he had some injury concerns in college, didn't play a whole lot of college ball, but since he's been in the NBA, he's been pretty durable.
Yes.
And he's young.
Fairly durable.
And he's athletic. And, I mean, the Uncle Drew thing kind of makes him seem old, but...
And he would be a nice guy with championship experience to match up with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. I think you got to throw that in there. Actually, if you throw Kyrie Irving on that team with J.J. Redick, Amir Johnson, Ben Simmons, and Joel Embiid, that's a playoff team guaranteed. Unless everyone gets injured, in which case you're screwed anyways. But why do the Cavs do this trade? I don't really like this trade for the Cavs. The other thing that's included in this trade is the first-round pick from the Lakers next year. But I don't like this trade for the Cavs. I don't know what Markelle Fultz is going to be. I have high hopes for him, but I don't know what he's going to be. I do actually believe in Dario Saric, but he plays the same kind of game as Kevin Love, so it's kind of a wash there. The only way Dario Saric makes sense is if you plan on trading Tristan Thompson out for some young shooting star asset, and because you could pair up the first-round pick you get from the 76ers with Tristan Thompson to get a shooting guard, and then you go small ball. You start Kevin Love at center, Dario Saric at shooting guard, at power forward, LeBron at small forward, your new shooting guard at shooting guard, and then you get Markelle Fultz at point guard. That could work. But overall...
Here's the thing, though, with any of these trades that involve a first-rounder from this year is we don't know what those players bring to any team yet.
Correct.
They played in college. They played in easy week. Not that Washington didn't play against Oregon this year, and Oregon was decent, but you got to see what they pan out to be. So the value that he brings to a team as a rookie, we just don't know exactly what it is. But we do know he was a very high pick this year. So, yeah, it's got the.
This doesn't seem like a likely trade at all for me. I just think that this is the only trade I could possibly make with including the 76ers. So that's kind of the only reason this is in here. I just had to make a trade happen with this team, and it was doable. Now, the last team in this division, the Raptors, I didn't see a trade being possible, period. Like, the only thing I could think of was Kyrie Irving and Iman Shumpert for DeMar DeRozan, but that just seems outlandish and ridiculous to me. I just can't even fathom that happening. I just don't. Especially considering he recently signed a long-term contract. I see no possibility for a trade with the Raptors for me, guys. So that is the end of the Atlantic Division in the Eastern Conference. I hope you guys enjoyed the content. We enjoyed talking trades with you guys. What we want to see is all the fans of these teams comment below and tell us how much you hate or love the trade. And that'll be highly, based on how much you like Kyrie Irving and what you think about him. You might like him a lot more than we do, and you may want to do these trades. Some of these trades are going to seem to you like you're just giving up too much for Kyrie. We agree with you, but you know what? Apparently, people don't. People think Kyrie's worth a hell of a lot, and that is part of the thing that I've put into here when I've made these trades is Kyrie has a lot of value, especially having.
To expand on what you just said, though, you said the fans of these teams. And we understand there's a lot of player movement in the NBA, and some fans are fans of just players.
Mm-hmm.
So if you saw a player go that you're like, man, I don't want to see him do that. That just don't make sense to me.
Although if you're a fan of any of these players going to the Cavs, you should want him to go to the Cavs so he can play with Kyrie Irving or with LeBron James.
Yeah, true. But then you're also burying him in Cleveland if LeBron leaves. So
that's also true.
That's a factor.
But, let us know in the comment section below what you guys think about these trades, how realistic you think they are, if they make your teams better. I think for the most part, most of these trades make both teams better in the way that those teams want to be better, which is whether it's a younger movement or having a superstar point guard for the future, or the Cavs wanting to have something for next year and something for the future. But I hope you guys enjoyed watching the video. Darren, you got any final words?
No. Thanks for inviting me to do this with you, and I hope you guys enjoy it.
Yep. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Give it a subscribe and a thumbs up if you did. Would really appreciate that. Share it with your friends so they can see what we are thinking about these trades. And as always, guys, till next time.